So, 2025 has been a pretty damn spectacular year for games already, and you know what? We're only halfway done. Whether you're in the market for a splashy AAA romp or craving something totally fresh and unexpected from the indie scene, you've definitely had plenty to feast on over the last 6 months. But here's the question, what are the best? Well, I'll tell you. Okay, chill out, okay? Because as ever, I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 of the best video games of 2025 so far. Number 10, Doom, The Dark Ages. The third entry into the rebooted Doom franchise is another banger, of course, and while there is no real consensus of which of the three games is the best, because they're all very, very different, the prequel The Dark Ages is, in the very least, a gloriously entertaining face-melter of an action game. That's an evolution of Doom, I'm gonna stop doing that, and more of an experimental side grade. The Dark Ages slows down the combat speed considerably for a more strategic experience, while also ditching Eternal's wildly divisive emphasis on frustrating platforming. And while The Dark Ages absolutely has its own polarizing aspects, namely its parry-heavy combat as well as the lack of a double jump and air dash, it is neat to see a series like Doom still trying to reinvent itself when it could have just so easily played the hits. With its more grounded gameplay style, diverse level design, and phenomenal musical score, Doom The Dark Ages is another killer franchise entry from id, even if your mileage may vary on precisely just how good it is compared to Doom 2016 and Eternal. Number 9, Citizen Sleeper 2 Starward Vector. Just as its 2022 predecessor never quite got the love from players that it deserved, RPG sequel Citizen Sleeper 2 Starward Vector has been bafflingly slept on by so many since launching back in January. This largely standalone follow-up is a modest expansion of the original concept, which, while longer and more narratively and mechanically complex, doesn't stray too far from the gameplay that made the original something of a sleeper hit. That is to say that once again you're thrust into the role of a human android, aka a sleeper, who must fight to survive, with the player's various life or death decisions being made by dice rolls. The addition of a new stress mechanic makes dice rolling considerably more tense, but as with its predecessor, it's the depth of the characters and novel-like richness of the storytelling that makes Citizen Sleeper 2 so evocative and unforgettable. And yet, even as a space-set RPG with a massive roster of characters, you can get through the core campaign in around 10 hours and see pretty much everything it has to offer in around double that, and we love to see it. Number 8, Mario Kart World. Mario Kart World had the unenviable task of following up arguably the greatest, most content-rich entry in this series, and while this Nintendo Switch 2 launch title doesn't surpass the heights of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, at present it's absolutely the reason to own Nintendo's newfangled hardware. I mean, sure, the open world aspect is a bit of a letdown, but the core Mario Kart gameplay is still as ludicrously entertaining as ever, while made even more maddeningly chaotic with the expansion to 24-player races. Oh, and it's absolutely beautiful to look at, while being backed by a wonderfully nostalgic musical score. It'd also be remiss not to mention the sure MVP of Mario Kart World, and that is the Knockout Tour. A battle royale-esque elimination race mode which is stupendously fun when played with 24 others online, and pretty much justifies buying this game alone. Mario Kart World may be mostly more Mario Kart, but considering the franchise's general consistency, is that really a bad thing? Number 7, Wednesdays. Wednesdays is a visual novel that's somewhat understandably flown under the radar since releasing back in March. The story revolves around Tim, a man who is revisiting a theme park simulation game from his youth, Orco Park, and uncovers some repressed memories of a childhood defined by sexual abuse. It goes without saying that Wednesdays is not a game for everyone, and its potentially triggering content will certainly make it a difficult experience for many, but those who do play it will likely find one of the most unexpectedly frank examinations of trauma that the medium has ever conceived. Developers The Pixel Hunt, who made Bury Me, My Love, and The Wreck, certainly have a history of tackling tricky subject matter in pretty beguiling yet tactful fashion, and with that in mind, Wednesdays uses the colourful guise of a theme park sim to examine challenging material without ever trivialising it. It only takes around 2 hours to experience each of the game's memory sequences, but within that short playtime, well, it packs one hell of a powerful punch. Number 6, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is a sequel that improves upon its terrific but pretty rough-edged predecessor in all the right ways, while retaining pretty much everything that people loved about it. This is once again an action RPG that laughs at the notion of a chosen one protagonist, given that hero Henry is still just an incredibly regular guy, even if he is somewhat more competent than he was in the first game. This sequel again argues that there's no such thing as too much realism, begging players to get bogged down in the minutiae of just about everything, while also emphasizing them in a staggeringly beautiful yet undeniably grubby rendition of 1400s Bohemia. With superior combat and AI, a more expansive open world, rich writing and an overall more polished presentation, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is pretty much a best case scenario for a sequel to a flawed masterpiece. If you're comfortable with an RPG that won't helicopter parent you through this experience, well, this is tremendously refreshing stuff. Number 5, Despalote. Now, you needn't be a fan of football to have an absolute whale of a time with this game. A fantastically charming walking simulator inspired by the actual life experiences of developer Julian Cordero. Now, this game is set in Ecuador's capital city of Quito, as an 8-year-old Julian follows the national football team's historic qualification for the 2002's FIFA World Cup. You'll run from place to place throughout the city with a childlike sense of wonder, interacting with locals and, of course, kicking a football around the city at will. As adorable as all of this is, and aided by evocative high-contrast art style, the grandest achievement here is the fusing of a nostalgia peek back into the past with a genuine exploration of how sport, and football in particular, can unite communities, instill hope, and even change the course of lives for the better. Fundamentally chill and clocking at only around 90 minutes, this is a perfect palate cleanser to hang around with after powering through a beefy AAA monster. Number 4, The Alters. And now for one of the best games of the year that not nearly enough people are talking about. Sci-fi survival game The Alters from the fine folk at 11-Bit Studios, who made this War of Mine and Frostpunk, is bloody amazing. Even for those who turn their noses up at survival games centered around crafting and busy work, The Alters has one hell of an appealing hook, given that you'll spend the game teaming up with alt-reality versions of protagonist Jan to help him stay alive on an inhospitable planet. As a masterful example of a carrot-and-stick gameplay loop, The Alters continually hurls more wrinkles at the player as their predicament becomes even more complex, and yet the management mechanics are dynamic and organised enough to never really feel excessively rote. There's also a ton of personality on display here. The various alters are a distinct bunch, and their interactions make for many of the game's most memorable moments. Also, for a AA title, this is one hell of a looker, offering up eye-wateringly gorgeous alien expanses typically reserved for much bigger budgeted fare. Number 3, Split Fiction. Despite the obvious pressure to follow up their Game of the Year winning It Takes Two with something even more ambitious, Hazelight's new co-op action-adventure game Split Fiction largely lives up to the hype. Just like It Takes Two, Split Fiction thrives on the sheer diversity and creativity of its ideas, with the co-op gameplay pinballing between game genres and gameplay styles at a moment's notice to ensure that there's never a dull moment. And the game is also designed to be played both by veterans of the medium and total newcomers, with co-op functionality focused on hurling players back into the action immediately after making a mistake. Played with a best friend or a partner, Split Fiction is one of the year's most purely entertaining and memorable experiences, one that emphasizes the joy of teamwork while wrapped around a story that itself champions the virtues of creativity. In its wake, we can only wonder how director Joseph Fares and his sublimely talented team will expand upon this for their next game. Number 2, Blueprints. Talk about a game that came completely out of nowhere. Roguelike puzzler Blueprints blipped into existence in April and immediately scored rave reviews from both critics and players alike for its unique riff on puzzle and roguelike games. Players explore a mansion with ever-shifting rooms while trying to use their limited allocation of steps to reach the mansion's mysterious 46th room. It's a deceptively complex setup, as players must strategize each new run to take advantage of their accruing knowledge, all the while the game itself continually introduces unexpected twists on the central loop. In a modern gaming era that emphasizes convenience above all else, there's a charm to those few games that still benefit from the old pen and paper approach, and that is definitely true of Blueprints. Even if you're not one for roguelike games, this one is so clever and atmospheric, you absolutely owe it to yourself to give it a go. And number 1, Clare Obscure Expedition 33. And finally, we have Clare Obscure Expedition 33, a flabbergastingly ambitious and utterly mesmerizing turn-based RPG, which delivered above and beyond what most most surely expected from newcomer developers Sandfall Interactive. Its tantalizing ticking clock premise and gorgeous Bella Pop setting immediately set Expedition 33 apart from its genre brethren, but Sandfall dared to go further with their impressively well-wrought, brilliantly acted characters and fiendishly addictive parry-centric combat system. It's a game that avoids so many of the typical RPG pitfalls, refusing to tie itself up in excessive complexity, both in terms of its narrative and gameplay systems, or bloating its critical path out with tedious mandatory content. The result is a truly generational RPG that's one of the freshest and most exciting offerings the genre has turned out in years, if not ever, and so it's little surprise that many have already pegged it to pick up most major Game of the Year honours. And with Sandfall producing such an incredible game on their first go, naturally many are wondering how the hell are they going to top this for number 2, whether it's a sequel to Expedition 33 or something entirely new. And there we go, my friends. Those were 10 of the best video games of 2025 so far. Hope you enjoyed that, and let me know what you thought about it down in the comment section below. As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that, my friends. And why not go follow me over on Instagram and Blue Sky, where I'm at RetroJ, but the O is a 0. Hope to see you soon, my friends, and I'll catch you in a bit. Bye.